Blocked. Concern raised about local hospital barring cancer patients from accessing critical medication. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Janella Precious.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, family feud. Police say fight for land behind recent Clarendon murders.
Say sorry why an attorney wants the JCF to apologize publicly to his client.
Sentence and Thomas machete-wielding mom gets 3 years probation.
And in business news, Lasco Manufacturing reporting big hike in profits.
There's also sports commentary and weather in this newscast, but before the break, the feedback question.
Tonight we're asking, what are your expectations of the Jamaica team at the Winter Olympics in South Korea?
Share comments online, facebook.com/television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam.
Please stay with us. The Primetime News package returns right after this break. Welcome back to Primetime News. A special welcome again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com.
A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the word Spot and Media.
A government senator is this evening raising an alarm about what she calls a major problem in the treatment of breast cancer in Jamaica.
Dr. Sapphire Longmore, herself battling the illness, says patients at one of the island's major hospitals are being blocked from accessing a critical drug to fight the disease. TVJ's Vashon Brown was in the Senate today.
I am very honored to be here this morning.
Government Senator Dr. Sapphire Longmore, who is battling breast cancer, making her contribution to the State of the Nation debate in the Upper House on Friday. In October last year, she stepped out of the shower and felt a lump in her breast. Doctors later confirmed that she had an aggressive form of breast cancer, which was moving fast. She explains that when someone has breast cancer, there are 3 possible immunotype markers.
It can be estrogen positive, can be progesterone positive, or it can be what we call HER2 positive. The worst scenario here is that you're triple negative. It means that the drugs that are developed cannot target. However, of the 3 types, the HER2 positive is the most aggressive, it is the most deadly if left untreated.
In her own journey, she says she's identified a disheartening problem in the treatment of breast cancer in Jamaica. She notes that there is a service that offers treatment for the most aggressive form of breast cancer at the Kingston Public Hospital, KPH, and the University Hospital of the West Indies, using money from the National Health Fund.
One of the drugs, Herceptin, is highly effective in treating this type of breast cancer.
She argues that the program with the NHF funding for the drug was developed to see to the treatment of at least 60 patients per year.
Mr. President, the sad reality is that persons who are registered to the university hospital are being blocked from accessing this drug. This is the reality. This policy has been in place from 2014. And as we speak, persons with HER2 positive carcinoma who are attending the university clinic are being told that they cannot access this drug through the NHF. They can access other NHF drugs, but not this drug.
Dr. Longmore says the patients are instead being directed to KPH.
Although UE has been approved to treat early stage breast cancer since 2014, as I said before, no patients to date have been able to access the medication. This current state at UE sends patients down there to go to a waiting list at least 3 months if you're fortunate. KPH is already burdened, and we are now adding to this burden. I came across this very specific situation because of my situation.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is expected to make a major announcement next week in relation to the temporary appointment of Brian Sykes as Chief Justice. That's according to Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. In adding his views to the debate on Justice Sykes' appointment, Mr. Chuck argues that it's not a bad move and could even work out in the public's favour. TVJ's Kirk Wright has this primetime news follow-up.
Word from Justice Minister Delroy Chuck on Friday. is that the Prime Minister will be making an announcement on the appointment of Justice Brian Sykes in short order. Mr. Chuck related the information in an interview with TVJ News this morning.
Something will happen. I don't want to steal the thunder of the Prime Minister or the Governor General, and therefore I can just intimate that in short order.
It's the first time Justice Minister is adding his voice publicly to the discussion around the acting appointment of Justice Sykes, and his stance is basically aligned with that of his cabinet colleagues that the appointment is not unconstitutional.
I hear you with all respect, but it kind of sounds like what you're trying to do is to justify something that is unconstitutional. I don't think it's not unconstitutional. The Section 99(1) allows the Prime Minister to ask someone to act. And let us bear in mind that a decision as to who should or could be the next Chief Justice was not agreed on within the last moments of the present Chief Justice demitting office. So it was absolutely necessary that the candidate we thought best, at very best, at least to put him to act. And as far as I can see, it is quite constitutional.
Mr. Chuck says discussions on the appointment of a new Chief Justice were taking place long before Chief Justice Zayla McCullough actually retired, and that cabinet had many candidates to consider. But he says perhaps it's at the last moment that focus was placed on Justice Sykes. A part of Mr. Chuck's defense is that the temporary appointment could work out in the public favor.
If the Prime Minister had appointed someone to act and that person turned out to be a disaster, then it's obvious that everyone would say it's a good thing.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
To another primetime news follow-up now, the police have released more details regarding the murder of a Clarendon woman whose 2-year-old child was clinging to her lifeless body on Tuesday. According to the Clarendon police, the incident is as a result of a domestic dispute where families have been quarreling over land, cattle and goats. TVJ's Kalisha Williams reports.
A battle between families over at least 12 goats and a few cows. An incident the police say led to the slaying of 2 women from one family. 32-year-old Natoya Ricketts was the latest victim. Ricketts' body was found with multiple gunshot wounds in Alley, Clarendon on Tuesday. Her 2-year-old daughter was seen unhurt, nestled under her mother's arms. At a meeting of the Clarendon Municipal Corporation on Thursday, acting head of the Clarendon Police, Superintendent David White, sought to address the issue.
We have seen a couple of those type of crime committed inside the parish of Clarendon, but this one was a real hard one to swallow.
In his address, Superintendent White broke down the series of events which he believed culminated into the murders.
So we have a grandmother who died naturally. She had quite a number of cows that were left to her by her husband. From there, her daughter started taking over when she died, and then the family started war over the properties.
The main suspect in the matter is said to be on the run. In the meantime, children's advocate Diane Gordon Harrison told TVJ News that the 2-year-old child who was placed in state care after her mother's death is now in the custody of a close relative.
The Office of the Children's Advocate, as you know, has been, tracking this matter with very great interest and distress at the same time. And just yesterday afternoon, late afternoon in fact, we confirmed that the child is now no longer at the hospital where she had been taken after she had been found, but has been reunited with family.
But she maintains that the Office of the Children's Advocate will continue monitoring the situation.
Because there will come a time when the news will have to be broken down in a way that the child understands what happened to her mother. And really, when you find any child at all, whether this one or anyone else who is faced with such a loss, there usually are behavioral issues and social issues.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
The man accused of plotting his wife's killing is having difficulty securing an attorney. The police, however, say Omar Collymore will be charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm and related offences. TVJ Shamela Mitchell brings us this primetime news follow-up.
The police in St. Elizabeth nabbed Mr. Collymore at a guest house in the parish on Thursday. On Friday, head of the Criminal Investigation Branch in Area 5, Superintendent Paul Thomas, told TVJ News that Mr. Collymore was taken into Kingston and is now being held at a police lockup. Mr. Collymore is now waiting to be questioned in the presence of his attorney for murder, illegal possession of a firearm, and other related offences to the particular crime.
I can say at present, I do not know of him having an attorney. Having spoken with other members of the team this morning, I've been told that the attorney who presented him earlier has indicated that he no longer represents him, and we are not in a position to say who his attorney is at this time. To the best of my knowledge, he is without one as we speak.
Superintendent Thomas added that due to Mr. Collymore's difficulty in securing a lawyer, it's not likely that he will be charged today. Since the incident, there have been speculations.
And we take a break. We'll have more when we return.
A return to an earlier story. The man accused of plotting his wife's killing is having difficulty securing an attorney. The police, however, say Omar Collymore will be charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm and related offences. TVJ Shamela Mitchell brings us this primetime news follow-up.
The police in St. Elizabeth nabbed Mr. Collymore at a guest house in the parish on Thursday. On Friday, head of the Criminal Investigation Branch in Area 5, Superintendent Paul Thomas, told TVJ News that Mr. Collymore was taken into Kingston and is now being held at a police lockup. Mr. Collymore is now waiting to be questioned in the presence of his attorney for murder, illegal possession of a firearm, and other related offences to the particular crime.
I can say at present, I do not know of him having an attorney. Having spoken with other members of the team this morning, I've been told that the attorney who presented him earlier has indicated that he no longer represents him, and we are not in a position to say who his attorney is at this time. To the best of my knowledge, he is without one as we speak.
Superintendent Thomas added that due to Mr. Collymore's difficulty in securing a lawyer, it's not likely that he will be charged today. Since the incident, there have been speculation about Mr. Collymore and his previous relationships. His then-girlfriend, Angela Aguiar, 38, was gunned down and killed on June 30, 2008 in downtown Fort Lauderdale. The Sun-Sentinel reports that court documents in a civil case point to her boyfriend as being her primary life insurance beneficiary. Superintendent Thomas says that he can't confirm to the media, but will say this.
We are doing an investigation, and we are taking into consideration the activities that present themselves to us as we at present relative to the particular case, and we are not we can't comment on the history, but I can tell you that we do take certain things that we have heard and have read into consideration going forward.
Meanwhile, back at the home where Mrs. Campbell Collymore used to live with her husband and 2 young children, neighbors who did not wish to speak on cameras told us that she will be missed. They described her as a people person who was quiet and peaceful. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Superintendent Thomas gave an update on the double murder that involved an elderly couple in St. Thomas earlier this year that made international news.
Certainly, I can report that relative to the murders of the Flakes, we now have one male in custody, not yet charged. We have made significant inroads into that case. And where we are at this stage, it is likely that we will be executing charges against this male we have in custody before the weekend.
Peter Champagny, the attorney representing Mikhail Kushney, the man police said issued threats against them, says he'll be taking the matter further. Mr. Champagny says his client now fears for his life, and it's all because of the police.
Information that Mr. Kushney had sent out threats against the lives of police officers was sent to our newsroom by the way of a release from the Constabulary Communications Unit, CCU. It said Mr. Kushney is second in command of the Taliban gang and that he issued the threats after the alleged leader, Ron Masters, was killed last Friday. Mr. Kushney was detained by the police on Monday for 24 hours after he went to inquire about the release about the threats he allegedly issued against the police.
It is of concern to me because it seems to me that the authorities are sailing very close to the wind in terms of breaching the Cybercrimes Act, and it sends a wrong signal. But of course, if they are suggesting that he was part of any gang, certainly the legislation is there that they could have employed if they had evidence of that nature to detain him and charge him, which they didn't.
Mr. Champagne says his client now fears for his safety because the police have not provided any proof that he in fact issued a threat against them.
Should something happen to him, then the police would have nobody to blame but themselves, because they have put out a kind of message that is sending the wrong signal.
Mr. Champagne wants the police to issue a public apology to his client, but he doesn't intend to leave the matter hanging.
Well, I intend to pursue it through another avenue.
Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
The Police High Command has launched a probe into an apparent blunder which saw 50 detainees who were transferred from the Freeport lockup in St. James to the Horizon Adult Remand Center in Kingston being sent back. The probe seeks to get answers as to what led to what the High Command described as the breakdown in communication between the St. James Police and the Department of Correctional Services DCS. It's understood that the DCS was unable to receive the detainees due to the unavailability of cell space, even though National Security Minister Robert Montague had announced that sufficient space was created at the Horizon Adult Remand Center to accommodate detainees held under the state of emergency in St. James. However, it's understood that a senior superintendent in charge of the St. James Police, Wilfred Campbell, has accepted that there was an absence of the usual communication between his office and the DCS command staff at Horizon, which led to the detainees being returned to St. James shortly after arriving in Kingston. The High Command says the absence of communication resulted in an unacceptable anxiety for the detainees and their families. Depending on the outcome of the probe, action will be taken. In the meantime, the Cornwall Bar Association says it's trying to get status reports on 18 detainees who've been in custody under the state of emergency in St. James since Saturday. President of the association, Stacey Ann Young, told our news center that an attorney will be sent to Freeport lockup to find out from senior officers whether the men will be released or charged.
The People's National Party officially launched its campaign in northwest St. Andrew. The party held a political meeting in Marvelly last night, where candidate Keisha Hale was formally introduced to supporters in the area.
It's the first of several political meetings in the lead up to the March 5 polls. On the platform on Thursday night, familiar faces.
Whether you chop it, crush it, or bite it, sugar cane still sweet. So we don't have to run from nobody. So my drive come to tell you that the comrades of Southeast St. Mary are 100% behind Comrade Hales.
Then it was the turn of party president Dr. Peter Phillips.
To notice that his views were not taken into account by his own people when they were searching for a candidate. Nor were the views of the people of Northwest taken into account. One thing we know is that we and Derek agree that the person that they have selected is not the best person for the job.
And if there was any doubt that Dr. Phillips and the party's candidate for Northwest St. Andrew, Keisha Hale, had buried the hatchet, a show of unity on stage. Ms. Hale in the past had been critical of Dr. Phillips, the party this week insisting that all is well between the two. But as for the matter at hand...
That everywhere I've gone in this constituency in the past week, people come up and ask me, why you choose to throw your hat in the political ring? Well, tonight I'm going to tell you. Me fed up. Because when I walk through this constituency, all I seen is suffering. 29 years of suffering. But on March the 5th, it shall end.
Northwest St. Andrew is traditionally a Jamaica Labour Party seat, but for Ms. Hale,
do not doubt me before you try me. I pledge even more that I will be a beacon of light that you have been looking for, because Northwest St. Andrew is dark.
I know everybody I go like we, still we I.
Sentence has been handed down in the St. Thomas woman who was seen in a widely circulated video on social media last year beating her daughter with what appeared to be a machete. 44-year-old Doreen Dwyer was this afternoon sentenced to 3 years probation when she appeared in St. Thomas Parish Court in Miranda Bay. She has also been ordered to get parental counseling and attend anger management classes. After perusing the social inquiry report, presiding judge Mrs. Lucian Jackson said the sentence would be 3 years probation, which is the maximum term the court is allowed to give. After the sentence was explained to Ms. Dyer, she pleaded guilty to the charge. She broke down in tears when the sentence was handed down, but later told TVJ News her goal now is to be reunited with her children.
In the final part of our special report on the implications of persons living on beaches across the island, TVJ's Krista Campbell looks at the response from those in authority on the way forward.
It's not clear how many structures are currently on the Hellshire Fishing Beach in Portmore St. Catherine, but what is sure is that they have been increasing over the years, and many of them are residential. A worsening erosion at the facility, partly the result of habitation and other human activities at the beach, and the government is now trying to address the problem by removing and upgrading some of those structures. But is it too little too late?
The Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, says maybe.
I wish them luck. They have left the problem very long. They are likely to face significant pushback from the people who are living and operating businesses on that beach and who have been doing so for a very, very long time. The political and socio-economic implications of trying to remove all of those people, how are they going to decide who gets to stay and who gets to go?
If you want me to come off the beach, I will. No problem. You just find me a little spot, build me a nice little house, and that's me. I'll satisfy with that.
I don't see why some more people are coming still, but we're here already. We can't run because we're there from where boy, we're there about 50 a day now.
Residents who did not want to speak on camera say they have been improving the sanitary conditions at the beach as stipulated by the National Environment and Planning Agency, and they refute claims about human waste being left indiscriminately on the beach. But even as those who spoke on camera shunned the idea of being asked to leave the beach, they admit that the facility needs an upgrade.
I don't see nothing wrong if they move back them shed there and make them smaller and make some more vacancy out of the front of the beach. Because if them shed there the same way, towards my experience when we know what this beach, the place I go keep on us a dig we come back all the way, because right now half of the shed them in the water already now.
My building is almost falling down on me. I need help to make a better little building.
That danger of collapse owing to a battering from bad weather, including storms and hurricanes. And JET says it will only get worse.
Whatever it is that they've constructed, they have removed the sand dunes, right? The sand dunes are a reservoir of sand for the beach, and they help to protect the beach, and they help to replenish the beach if there is a storm or some kind of natural event, or even through natural processes of beach erosion, wave action on the beach. It helps to replenish the sand that has been lost. And when you remove those sand dunes, you're removing a sand bank. If I owned, one of those structures, I would be very worried about the next hurricane that hit Jamaica, because it's likely that there would be significant damage to that section of coastline.
So what is the plan of action? TVJ News understands that at a meeting involving the police, councillor, member of parliament and Portmore mayor on Thursday, plans to stop persons from living on the beach and fix a groin to help slow the erosion were discussed. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Jamaican soldiers were a hot topic during carnival celebrations in Dominica, and it's not only for their hard work in the recovery efforts in the country post-Hurricane Maria. TVJ's Herman Green explains.
The aftermath of Hurricane Maria. What's that the police from Jamaica shot and killed a young looter?
It's social commentary. Calypso songs for Dominica Carnival 2018 featuring two significant events, Hurricane Maria and the Jamaican soldiers' time in the country. Jamaica Defense Force soldiers were among security personnel deployed from several countries. They left in December last year, but are most remembered not only for their tough stance on looting, but personal relationships with the island's women, and are now a common theme in most songs.
Jamaican boys, they do a lot of hard work in the country. They come and protect and everything, but at the same time, they serve themselves nicely. Without a doubt, they serve themselves. So, when we say she loot a Jamaican soldier, that is based on we following social media. Because as I said, when you loot, you take something that is not yours. So here, Miss Missy posts up a picture, nice and hug up on Facebook with the soldier, and a lady allegedly from down that side, Jamaica, said, but hey, he never tell you about me and our two sons.
We were told that the JDF members were extremely popular with the ladies, and so there are several other stories of new love during their rather short deployment. Dominicans say they appreciate the humorous side in the music as it helps reduce stress levels.
People are still dying from the aftermath of the hurricane. People are still stressed out. There was one particular a young lady that was looking okay in Dominica. When she go overseas, she could not sleep.
Yes, Maria did enough hard work and stress out people and whatnot, but we still have to remember Calypso is here to bring out the fun aspect and make people that will probably down feel a little form of joy and what have you. So we capture everything and we just boss it.
Some agree that the humor is just to get through the stressful time now. Others believe it will last for generations, especially the next, which they think will start in about 9 months. Herman Green, TVJ News.
And before the break, it's time for our feedback responses. Janella?
Thank you, Doreen. Here's a quick reminder of our feedback question tonight. We're asking, what are your expectations of the Jamaica team at the Winter Olympics in South Korea? Colin Ricketts says, I don't care if they win. The fact that Jamaica is a tropical country and they're at a snow game, please, may head our boss with pride. Big up Jamaica. Cute N says, I expect great things from them. All in a snow, we are going with things. Hashtag little but we talawa. Kamisha Queenie I Harriet says, I really have no expectations. I'm proud to the sky, just that we are there. We all know that just our presence make us winners, all the best guys, and at the same time have fun. Anthony Dawkins says, a medal will be nice, but they just have to focus on doing their best regardless of the outcome. Our flag will be there and we are very proud of them. That's my expectations. Now keep those comments coming on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/Television Jamaica and tweet us at Television Jam. The Financial Week, news from overseas, and the Bite of the Week are all next. Please stay with us.